Ever wonder how a language that was just supposed to make websites pretty somehow broke out and took over the entire server world? Well, that's the story of Node.js. And today, we're going to get into it.
All right, so to really get why Node.js was such a big deal, we need to hop in a time machine. Let's go back to 2009. The internet is absolutely exploding, right? But the tech behind the scenes, well, it was starting to show some serious cracks. So what was going on?
Basically, the problem was simple. Servers were just getting crushed. They were overwhelmed. They were built on this old model that was totally fine for the old web, but for the super-connected, real-time internet that was just starting to pop up, no way. It just couldn't keep up.
And this leads us to this legendary problem in the tech world called the C10K problem. It sounds complicated, but the question is simple. How in the world do you get one single server to handle 10,000 people all at the same time? I mean, back then, the big-name servers like Apache, they just buckled under that kind of pressure. They'd get totally bogged down as more users flooded in.
So the guy who created Node.js, Ryan Dahl, he was seeing all this happen and was getting super frustrated. He looked at how servers worked and just thought, this is crazy inefficient. The way everyone was doing it was called sequential programming, which is a fancy way of saying one thing has to finish completely before the next thing can even start. Imagine a massive traffic jam where every single car has to wait for the car in front of it to reach its destination before it can move an inch. Yeah, it was that bad.
Okay, so Dahl sees this huge problem, right? And his solution, well, it was something that sounded kind of out there at the time, totally radical. But this idea was about to give JavaScript, the language that was just chilling in the browser, its big moment in the spotlight.
And here's the big idea, the core concept. What if we could just take JavaScript out of the browser and let it run on the server? I mean, think about it. Web developers already knew JavaScript, so why not let them use that one language to build the whole shebang? The front end, the back end, everything.
But here's the clever part. Dahl didn't have to reinvent the wheel. He basically took three amazing pieces of tech that already existed and put them together. First, he grabbed Google's V8 engine. That's the super fast JavaScript engine that makes your Chrome browser fly. Then he added something called an event loop to juggle all the tasks. And finally, a simple API to talk to the computer's file system and network. Brilliant, right?
And the result? It was absolutely revolutionary. This created what we now know as the JavaScript everywhere paradigm. Suddenly, for the very first time, a developer could use just one language, JavaScript, to build the entire application. No more context switching between, say, PHP on the back end and JavaScript on the front end. It just streamlined everything.
So, we've talked about the what, but what about the how? How did Node.js actually solve that massive C10K problem we mentioned? Well, the secret sauce, the real magic, is all in its architecture. And it's all built around this concept called non-blocking I/O.
Okay, let's break that down. Node.js is event-driven and uses asynchronous I/O. That sounds like a mouthful, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Imagine you tell your program to do something that's going to take a while, like reading a big file or talking to a database. Instead of just sitting there and staring at the wall waiting for it to finish, Node.js says, okay, you go work on that in the background. It then immediately moves on to the next request. And when that slow task is finally done, it just sends a little signal, a callback, to say, hey, I'm finished.
And believe me, the difference here is like night and day. Your traditional server, that's like a grocery store checkout, where the cashier literally has to wait for one customer to unload their cart, pay, bag everything, and walk away before they can even say hello to the next person in line. But a Node.js server, that's a whole different beast. It's like one super efficient, lightning-fast waiter.
Let's really dig into this waiter analogy because it's perfect. So, the old way, the blocking way, a waiter takes your order, walks it to the kitchen, and then just stands there, waiting for the chef to cook it. Super inefficient, right? But the Node.js waiter is a genius. They take your order, give it to the kitchen, and then immediately go take someone else's order. Then seat a new table, then refill some drinks. They are never just waiting around. Then when a dish is ready, the kitchen rings a bell, that's our event, the waiter gets a tap on the shoulder, that's our callback, and zips over to pick up the food and serve it. That one waiter can handle the entire restaurant all by themselves. That, right there, is the power of non-blocking I/O.
But the path to success is rarely a straight line. Node.js had a pretty dramatic journey. Like any big, new idea, there were growing pains, some serious community drama, and even a huge split in the project before it could become the rock-solid foundation that we know today.
So here's the quick history. It all kicks off in 2009. Then in 2010, something huge happens.
NPM, the package manager, is born. This lets developers share code like never before, and the ecosystem just explodes. But fast forward to 2014, and there's trouble. Some developers are unhappy with how things are being run, and they create a fork called IOJS. This was a make or break moment. But thankfully, everyone realized they were stronger together. In 2015, the Node.js Foundation was created to bring the two projects back together. And by 2019, it all got folded into the OpenJS Foundation, which pretty much secured its future for good.
All right, so that's the history. But why does Node.js still matter so much today? Simple. Its impact wasn't just some fad, some flash in the pan. It fundamentally, permanently changed the way we build stuff for the web.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The numbers speak for themselves. Every single year, the big Stack Overflow developer survey comes out, and every single year, Node.js is right up there at the top as one of the most used, most loved technologies out there. We're not talking about some niche tool here. This is a foundational pillar of the modern web.
And all that love from developers has built up this incredible ecosystem around it. You've got these powerhouse frameworks like Express and Next.js that are built on Node. You see it being used for literally everything, from tiny little command line tools all the way to massive enterprise-level APIs. And of course, it has the backing of all the big players. We're talking AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, you name it. When you boil it all down, the real legacy of Node.js isn't just about being fast. It's not just about efficiency. The truly game-changing thing it did was bring JavaScript to the server, and in doing so, it unified the entire web development world. It gave a whole generation of developers the power to build bigger, better, faster apps using the one language they already had in their toolkit.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway here. That whole JavaScript everywhere idea that Node.js kicked off, it's not a radical idea anymore. It's just how things are done. JavaScript runs our servers, it runs in our browsers, it builds desktop apps, it's even on tiny little smart devices. So that leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Now that one language has pretty much conquered the digital world, what comes next?